Hello YouTube and welcome to the team preview video for the first annual iCombat North American Tournament. I am FrankNStein. I have worked at iCombat for several years and now I'm going to be commentating the tournament. I'm joined today by the man, the myth, the legend, sixes and sevens, who is the longest reigning #1 player in the world and current owner and proprietor of iCombat Waukesha, where the tournament will be taking place. How are you doing today, Jeremy?
Good. Thanks for having me on here.
All right, so very quickly, we're going to go over the tournament and basically just information about that and the team size, how the games are going to be played, and what games were picked for the tournament. Also, the format of play and that sort of thing. So, Jeremy, why don't you give us a quick rundown of all that?
All right. So basically, what we decided to do is because of the pandemic, we named our tournament Pandemic 2020. So we had to see how many people we had signed up. We ended up with a total of 30 people, so that gave us 5-man teams of 6 teams. We did a draft style format for the captains, and then the captains did draft style for their teams. We did kind of a snake version, so team 1 picked 1 all the way up to 6, 6 picked 2, went backwards, and so forth. The team captains that we ended up with first was JBakes48. Next for second was Delirium, followed by Doki. Fourth captain was Bratz. Fifth captain was FrogChamp, and our last and final captain was Mac20.
And what kind of games are going to be played for the tournament?
So the games for the first round, we're doing a round robin style tournament. So this isn't a single or double elimination. This is round robin. So what's going to happen is we have 5 core games that all teams will face each other on in every round. So 1 will play 2, 3 will play 4, and so forth. But that will alternate per game. The first game obviously is going to be team deathmatch. It'll be accumulation of total score for both rounds of the game. And UBL will be in there. And it's funny with UBL because the joke is that we're talking about bringing out the tape measure, because the way UBL will be played, if you don't actually complete the game by retrieving the body, it'll be who gets the body the furthest combined. So that one's going to be kind of interesting, kind of a little football style format in there for the draft fans.
Right.
Whack-a-mole is going to be fun. That'll be again a total accumulation of both rounds. And the last one is, I can't remember off the top of my head.
Sniper, TDM.
Sniper, that was it. Sniper was the other one. Again, that'll be a total team score for both rounds. So after all teams face each other, so which is really good with this round robin style format, it's not being single elimination. Everybody is going to get 5 games. So you get 10 games, 5 rounds of the game. So that's, we've got a lot of great people coming out from different areas. North Carolina, St. Louis is coming out. This is going to be a fun tournament. So, and then what we're doing for our championship, it'll be the top 4 teams out of the 6. That'll start with Hell's Bells, move on to
Juggernaut for first and second place.
Juggernaut will be first and second place. That'll be the last game played, and
Espionage
is third and fourth. God,
yep.
Thank you. I should know my own.
No problem. No problem.
So yeah, that's kind of how this set is going to work. So basically, the round robin, whoever ends up with the total top amount of wins depicts who goes on to first, second, third, and fourth place to play those 3 games to try and fight for the finish.
Right, and I like the way that you have it set up. I like how you have it where it's cumulative based on how the teams do between both games versus just winning one or the other, and that sort of thing. I think that brings a really good aspect to it. And basically, you want to play well on both sides of the field, both sides for each game, that sort of thing. So I think that's a really good aspect to it. And it should bring a little bit more competition to it as well.
And with you saying that, that's exactly when it comes to our field. Certain games are more dominant on one side. So not only does it, make it combined, you have to try on both sides, it also gives each team a fair try at both sides.
Right, exactly. All right, so with that, we're going to go ahead and move on to the team preview portion of it. As you already stated, the draft went as such. JBakes picked first. JBakes is a Waukesha regular to the highest extent. He's been here almost as long as you, I would say.
Close.
Pretty close. And he's the first person I actually heard who committed to being a captain and was ready to go for this tournament. He has done tournaments in the past, and he's been raring to go this entire time. So we'll go over his team really quick. His first pick was Qui-Gon Jinn, which wasn't really a surprise to anybody. He had the highest skill rating remaining of all the players that were eligible, so that's a great first pick. He also has the best accuracy of his team and the highest KDR as well. And Overall, he works with JBakes really well. They're very close friends, so it wasn't on a surprise pick in that regard at all. His second pick, which came at the end of round 2, was Rainer Braun, who is a former Chicago player, now currently a Waukesha player due to their unfortunate circumstances. But he's been playing really well around here. He seems to be getting better every single time I see him play.
Definitely.
And he's got a 49.7 skill rating, not too shabby at all. He went back to back with his picks because of the snake format, and he ended up taking Jay Woodland with the pick after that. Woodland took a really long time off, not playing up here as much as previously, but he's been coming out here every single weekend, playing multiple sessions every weekend. He actually just got playing as we're recording this, so he did really well today, and he's just gotten better.
You have to make the comment Woodland. Anytime you're on the field with Woodland, you're going to have a great time because he's just hilarious to play with.
Oh, yeah, he's one of the funnest persons to play with. You'll hear him across the map screaming, yelling at you, laughing, and having a great time, and it's always a good time to play either with him or against him.
Yep.
And for the last pick, and it was the last pick overall as well, is Z Mintzner 12, who I believe comes from North Carolina.
I can't remember if that one's North Carolina or St. Louis.
One of the two. We apologize if you're watching this. You're one of the players that we don't know much about. You were the last pick, but you have really good stats overall from what I saw. We only have the stats available to us from when I looked them up. So they might not be completely updated.
It's funny that I've been hearing the rumors flying that they're really talking up. I believe this is the girl from North Carolina.
North Carolina?
And the teams are all talking about like she's got her game down. She knows what she's talking about. They're hyping her up for everybody. So I think it's gonna be it's one of those unknowns that we definitely
right. She could definitely be a wild card for that team, especially since nobody knows anything about any of the other players. As far as I know, none of them have come up here at all. So we're kind of shooting the dark for all of them. But she seems like she seems to know what she's doing, and like you said, they're hyping her up, and she'll definitely be a wild card in this format.
Yep.
Overall for the team, it's not too bad. They have a 54.7 skill rating cumulative, added together, averaged out, however you want to talk about it. And then a 17 accuracy, which is way better than mine. The only unfortunate downside for the team, and it's not the huge issue, but they do have the lowest KDR combined between all of the teams at 1.706. It's not that much different from all the other teams, but if you compare it to the top team, which we'll get into later, it's a pretty drastic drop from a 1.8 down to a 1.7. But overall, that's not a bad team at all. And you got to expect that JBakes and John will probably just handle most of the work, and then the other players will support them pretty well also. So for the video here, we also made a questionnaire for each team to fill out, and here are the questions for everybody. The first question is, what was your thought process when drafting your team? Did you draft to complement your strengths, or did you have a strategy that you wanted to implement, or were you just trying to pick your friends or people that you know well? And JBakes' answer to this question is pretty thought out. His strategy was to look for players who he could plug in and play anywhere and make sure that they could take direction well from him. JBakes is always talking about his strategies for everything. He's a very good strategist. And so I believe what he's looking for here is just people who will listen to what he says and make sure that they're doing what they're doing so that way they can best complement his strategies and make sure that they play well together. The second question was, what game do you think your team will be best at? And his answer is pretty typical of JBakes. Any games that are mansion-based is made for his team to win. Both John and JBakes, you're laughing, but it's true. They're good hold down mansion the entire time. It's going to be really tough for anybody to get them out of there.
They are good in the mansion. I'll give them that.
Oh, yeah. And which of the opposing teams do you feel will be the most difficult to beat? And he goes with Frog Champ's team. He drafted a strong team of Waukesha-based players and that are all good, and he just hopes that JBakes' own experience, along with John's, will be able to overtake the other teams, especially Frog Champ's team. Moving on to the second team here, we have Delirium, who picked second overall. Delirium has the third highest skill rating out of anybody in the entire tournament, so obviously right off the bat, you got to know that he's a top player. He's played at Waukesha for a very long time. He actually works there, and he is going to be a force to reckon with. And with his picks, it's a very interesting group of people. He started off with picking Unicorn Rage, who is a fellow employee and a good friend of Delirium's. They will be able to play well together. They complement each other fairly well. Delirium followed that up with a pick of the Owl, who is another Chicago player who's transitioning to being a Waukesha player. The Owl is really impressive, coming along very well up at Waukesha. Always super hard to find. I believe they just crouch down the entire time that they're playing. I almost never see them until I'm already dead. It'll be very interesting to see what strategies to come up with that. For his third pick, he went with Spartans Man, who is another one of our out-of-town players. We don't really know much about. He's from St. Louis? All right. We don't know much about them, but we do know that they're all very good at playing. They're very good in their own locations. It will be interesting to see how they transition. His last pick, he went with Too Old for the Shot, a very good family friend who he knows very well. It will be an interesting blend of people that he knows well, along with two people who he might not be as familiar with in the Owl and Spartans Man, but hopefully they can bring it all together. Looking at the team statistics, as I said, Delirium has the highest skill rating on the team, and combined their skill rating is 53.6, a little down compared to the other teams, but not the absolute worst. Delirium and Unicorn Rage are also very close in terms of accuracy, with being 0.1 away from each other, which is very close.
Good, yeah.
Both at 23.0 and 22.9. As a team, they're averaging 16% accuracy. And for KDR, once again, Delirium is leading the team at 2.7, and overall there's 1.736. Like I said, a little bit above the other one, but all the KDRs are incredibly close, except for the top team, who is just blowing everybody out of the water with that. But overall, not a bad team. And looking at the questions that Delirium submitted for this, when asked about his thought process for drafting, he went into the draft with a list of players that he knew he wanted on his team. His first overall pick was Kyle, who he thought complemented the playstyle very well and worked well together. And from there, he kind of just went picking the best remaining players based off of some research he did prior to the draft. His best game that his team is going to do is UBL. He has a secret strategy for it that is going to be, he's hoping will work out well for both attacking and defending. Didn't want to get into it too much, but he says to wait and see and how it plays out.
And if you want to know what that strategy is, I'll give you my PayPal. We can figure something out.
Which of the opposing teams do you feel will be the most difficult? He thinks each team will vary depending on what game. He lists a couple examples in that he does not want to face J-Bake's team for UBL. He doesn't want to face Doki's team for Supply Grab, Frog Champ's team for Sniper, or Mac's team for Whack-A-Mole. So he kind of goes over all of that right there. Why don't you get into the individual players and how well you think they'll play together? I know that Delirium and Unicorn Rage complement each other fairly well, but what do you think about the rest of the team?
I think it's going to be interesting because, like you just said, that him and Unicorn Rage play very well together. The Owl has a very similar playstyle to Unicorn Rage, the way they play lower market, but Owl is actually good up top also. So that's going to be interesting. Too Old for This Shot with them is good at locking down the back door. So the way he does certain things, I think will definitely help that team with what, I'm not going to give away their team strategy. I'm pretty sure I know what it is and I know where they go, how they plan on playing it. So I think the way Too Old for This Shot plays will definitely help that strategy in the long run. So it's going to be pretty good.
And what do you think about the aspect of Spartans Man being on the team as well? He is from out of town. We don't really know much about him, but how do you think? You've played at St. Louis, correct? How do you think playing there compares to playing here? How do you think that they're?
I mean, every field is so different. I think a game that they're going to play, that Spartans Man is going to be probably a good help in Sniper. From when I played St. Louis, I think he'll be a big help on that one. Some of our games like Recon, the Supply Grab, will be interesting because they don't have their field is not open at all. It's a lot of props, a lot of things. It's a lot narrower, so they aren't moving as quickly as we do on this field. They'll move, but nowhere near as quick. I know a lot of the St. Louis guys are good at getting upstairs, so if he learns to get upstairs and use the top of the market, that'll definitely be a big help for him.
Oh yeah, and if he has either Delirium or Kyle leading the way up there, or even the Owl leading him up there, and he can get up there, he'll probably be able to hold it down for them. That's a pretty good rundown of the team. Let's move on to the third team. The third team was drafted by Doki. He is a former Madison player who is incredibly energetic, always jamming out to music while he plays on the field, and is just always ready to go. He can play the entire day and not miss a beat. His team does have the highest combined skill rating of all the teams drafted, so he was very good with his picks. The only knock on him that I've heard from other people is that his team is a little bit young, but again, that should help in the long run with them having the most energy of all the teams on the field for sure.
That's interesting. Looking at the names again, I mean, obviously I know one of them, but I didn't put that into play until I looked at the other two of the other four on there. I went, oh, it is a younger team. That definitely is. I didn't even see that before.
Oh yeah, they're a young team. They're a fast team. We'll get into some of the stats here. Doki was the captain of the team, and he went with his first pick of Sniper, your son, and Sniper has the highest skill rating on the team at 73.9. He also has the highest accuracy at 28.6, and he also has the highest KDR on the team at 2.37. So that is a solid first pick. It was kind of a surprise that he went third. I would have thought he would have been taken second after Qui-Gon Jinn being taken first, but that's still not a bad pick. That's good value for your pick right there.
Yeah, I was. I mean, everybody was surprised. Everybody expected different. But then when I looked at it again, going back to Delirium's team, it made sense because he was looking to complement his style, so it made perfect sense. And it's funny, if you look at Sniper's skill rating in the last about 6 months, he's really been working on his skill rating. He wanted to bring that up, and it's jumped tremendously just in the last few months. So he's been putting in a lot of work to bring his stats up.
Right, and it's always impressive when you have an almost 30% accuracy. That's almost double my accuracy, and that just amazes me. I'm trying to work on that, but enough about me. With his second pick, Doki went with Cheese Curds. Cheese Curds is actually a much newer player. I don't even think he's been playing for a full year yet.
No, not at all. Yeah, but I'd say he's about 4 months in, actually.
Yeah, so very, very surprising, but he's still learning really quickly. He's learning on the fly. He comes in and plays with his friend Desil, who we'll get into later. He comes out here and he's moving, he's running around, he's taking care of stuff. Again, another young guy. I believe he's still in high school. Not sure exactly how old he is. But Cheese Curds comes in here with a 17.5% accuracy, which, like I've hammered that up before, it's better than mine, and he's only been playing for 4 months, so he's obviously doing something right. Doki followed it up with IG72, who again is another wild card with a 65.5 skill rating, which is incredibly high. And a 2.23 KDR to go along with that. But again, we don't really know much about them. I believe they came from North Carolina.
Yeah, that's another North Carolina. What's interesting with the North Carolina players is they don't play with headbands.
Oh, right. Exactly.
So it's going to be interesting to see how that transitions for them, when you talk about Sniper or, some of the games where in our field, having only headshots available to you.
Right.
It's going to be pretty interesting to see how that plays out for them.
Yes, and Doki rounded out his selections with Brad the Eradicator, who is another local Waukesha player, actually son of Too Old for This Shot. And Brad is another young kid. I believe he's still in high school. He's got some decent skills and all that other fun stuff. He has a limited energy when he's on the field as well, and he's always willing to listen to people on the field. As I alluded to earlier, Doki's team does have the highest average skill rating at 57.76. As a team, they also average about 17% accuracy, and they also have the highest combined KDR as well at 1.8. So as you can see, the difference between the highest and the lowest is about 0.17 in terms of KDR, which may not seem like a lot, but overall averaging it together, that does seem like a pretty substantial amount.
Anything that has where kills are going to help in this tournament, I think that's going to be one of the harder teams to go up against, honestly. From what there's two teams that I think are going to be hard for kill games. And Doki's team is definitely going to be one of those, just because the way Doki and Sniper play, that complements each other a lot. Cheese Curds is right there behind the both of them in the way they play. He's gotten kind of aggressive, and he will work the objectives also. So I think it's going to be one of those stronger teams in this. I think it's going to be pretty cool to watch.
Definitely.
Of course, I'm a little biased.
Of course, but you're allowed to be. That's fine. But as we alluded to, the team is very young, and in my opinion, having that young and speed and athleticism will actually help them a lot in supply grab too. If they go that route, they'll have enough energy. They might grab all 4 crates right off the bat and just be done within 5 seconds. Who knows? But it'll be a very interesting team to watch. Don't be surprised if they finish games very quickly. We also have some answers here from Doki. He was trying to be a little bit sleuthier with his answers. He didn't want to give too much away. His thought process for the draft was trying to pick people he knew would try to win. He does add that he wasn't a huge fan of the draft style. He would rather pick his own team, but I'm sure he's happy with all of his picks. He does love playing with your son, and I believe he's very good friends with Cheese Curds as well.
No, he knows he's very good friends with Mac 20.
Oh,
the other captains.
Yes, that as well. So maybe they'll have a little rivalry when they play against each other. He believes that TDM will actually be his team's best game, and as we talked about, they are all very good pushers. They all know how to hold things down well. So and with that high KDR, I feel like that's a good point. They will have a good way of playing TDM. And I love this answer. For the opposing team that he thinks is most difficult to beat, Doki says none of them. He is not afraid of
That's some
any of the
confidence
teams.
right there.
He has a lot of confidence. I feel like you can just talk to him and know that he's full of confidence right there. Moving on to the fourth team. Fourth team is led by Bratz, and Bratz is a former Chicago player as well, and he's actually the person with the most experience in tournaments, I believe, having won the last 2 tournaments, if I'm not mistaken. He's won 2 for sure. I don't know if they're in a row. The team has the second highest combined skill rating, and they are actually the only team that doesn't have any long distance players, meaning that they don't come from St. Louis or North Carolina. They are all local from Chicago and Waukesha, so that is an added bonus. The first week after the draft, they all came out here and played together as a team right away, so that sure will help them out very much in this format.
Yeah, that was pretty interesting. Literally the weekend after the draft, they were all here lined up ready. I was like, wow, that's pretty cool.
We know Bratz likes to prepare for everything.
Yes.
He had a huge list of players ready to go before the draft was even announced.
I'll bet he had a whiteboard at his house.
Oh, definitely. He had a whiteboard ready to go. So for his first pick, he went with Egg Thrower, who is actually Delirium's brother. Egg Thrower hasn't played a ton recently, but he's very good. He has the highest scoring on the team at 71.8, a 24% accuracy, which normally would be the highest on the team, but we'll get into that in a second. He also has a 2.35 KDR, who is just under Bratz's 2.4. I feel like that was a very good pick first and foremost, just because it was one of the highest skill ratings remaining, and it's also a local player who knows the field well. And I feel like Egg Thrower can play the field anywhere and just move around and be a very good utility player for Bratz, who's also very good. With the second pick, Bratz went with Ashway, and Ashway is known as the player who has the highest accuracy out of any regular at Waukesha, with a stunning 40.45% accuracy. He might actually be higher now, but that was what it was when I last checked. She is very good up top. She typically plays only on single fire.
She's scary up top.
She is
gets up
scary
top,
upstairs.
you're in trouble.
She's also going in with a 51 skill rating, so you know she's not just shooting for accuracy out there. She's getting a decent amount of points and skills and that sort of thing. Bratz followed up with another Chicago player in Levi Ackerman. Levi comes in with a 52 skill rating and a 14% accuracy. Not terrible, not great either. It still beats mine. I'm going to keep mentioning that every time it's true. But Levi is a good player. Levi likes to play downstairs, so I feel like that is
He plays the lower market very well. He's learning the lower market well.
Oh, yes, and he's more than willing to go for any objective that you want him to, so he'll be a good objective player. And Bratz follows it up with another Waukesha player in Feldark. Feldark took a little bit of time off, and he's coming back into it. He has a 36.9 skill rating and a 17.8% accuracy. And he's overall just a very good utility player. Solid last pick, if nothing else. I believe out of the last picks, he has the highest skill rating of the last players picked, if I'm not mistaken. Overall, their team, with having the highest player helps. They have the highest accuracy of all the teams at 22%. They also no slouch with the skill rating at being 56.2. And they also have a 1.75 KDR. As I said previously, Bratz is notorious for having very deep thoughts and thinking about everything, so I'm sure that was coming into it when he filled out his questionnaire. With his thought process for the teams, in selecting for his team, he wanted to find players that were smart and able to make decisions on the spot that would help the team. He was 100% more interested in how people play versus how lethal they are, probably referring to the amount of kills that they get. For the game that they believe that they'll be best at, he's pretty confident that his entire team will do well in all of the games. They're a very balanced group, which is fairly accurate, I would say, and they're not going to have too many issues. They're going to put a good time into figuring out a good game plan for every single game. And for the opposing team that they think will be most difficult, they actually alluded to all the teams being pretty tough. Each team has kill players and support players that will be able to fill in any role. Any team that is able to put a proper plan is going to be a force to be reckoned with, and I completely agree with that. That is true as down to its core. And obviously you can't knock Bratz on anything. He has won 2 tournaments. He kind of knows exactly what he's talking about. How do you think that team is going to do? What game do you think will be their best, since they didn't really allude to it themselves?
That one with that team, I think Sniper is going to be good. One, because of Ashway. Egg Thrower is very good at picking people off. Those 2 combined in there with the rest of the other 3 picking people off, that's going to be one of their better games, I think. I think Recon will be good because Levi moves quick, Feldart can move, Egg Thrower definitely can move, so they got 3 quick movers. So I think Supply Grab and Recon will be huge for them also.
Right, and going back to Sniper, I agree with you in that having the high accuracy of Ashway and Egg Thrower will help them, but also Rotz, Levi, and Feldark are not afraid to just wait back and be patient with theirs, so they probably won't miss too many shots overall, just being patient like that.
Definitely.
Our fifth team, we have the team of Frog Champ, and Frog Champ actually comes in with the highest skill rating out of any player in the format, and I feel like my personal opinion is that he's probably the best, if not one of the top 2 players out of anybody on this field. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, definitely.
I'm sure you're a little bit biased towards your son as well, but I feel like Frog Champ
Well, are we counting me in this?
Oh, well, I mean, you will be on the field technically, so. But I definitely.
Out of the tournament, yeah, definitely.
Yes.
Sure. No, he's definitely, out of what you got on this tournament teams, you've got our top 3 players, you know. Out of our top 5, you've got 3 of our top 5 Waukesha players in the tournament for sure.
Right, and that's actually going to be a huge competitive aspect to this. Frog Champ with his teams, he seemed to be leaning a little bit towards Waukesha players and also people that he knows, having picked 2 additional employees onto his team. Having 3 employees on one team is going to be a huge benefit to him, I would say. Wouldn't you agree?
Oh, most definitely. It was funny because when this tournament draft was over, I was like, kind of went through it, I went, oh my God. This is going to be insane.
Oh, yes. So, as I mentioned, Frog Champ does have the highest skill rating, but as a team, they actually have the lowest combined skill rating at 50.56 out of everybody, which is a huge drop from the high of 57, and I believe it's lower by 3 points than everybody else. However, I was told today by Quicks that he has actually been working on getting his skill rating up, so that could be different now, but at the time of picking, they did have the lowest combined skill rating. Speaking of Quicks, he was Frog Champ's first pick. Quicks, like I said, was an employee. He has a 48.9 skill rating, a 20% accuracy, and a 1.37 KDR. I believe he only just started really getting into playing hardcore. He has been working here for a little while, but has only just recently gotten into it, and that should benefit Frog Champ's team.
Definitely.
Coming in with his second pick was Scumbag Lenny. Again, another employee, a 42.6 skill rating, a 20% accuracy, and a 1.5 KDR, but don't let any of those stats fool you because typically Scumbag Lenny likes to play on Legendary. And for those of you who don't know, Legendary is half damage and half health when you play, so you do half damage to players, and you also have half the health of a normal player, so it's basically extreme difficulty. And he's putting up those numbers with that. I feel like those are actually probably a little bit low for it.
Yeah, what's kind of funny is most people are like, oh, okay, well, they see him on the board with 30 kills. Bratz runs his weekly podcast, and we do the top 10 from the facilities, and Scumbag's usually up there somewhere. But he's only got 30 kills or 40 kills, but all the rest of his numbers are high, and it's that because he plays on that Legendary. So it's most people see that, and it's just kind of like, well, what's the problem here? But it changes the way you play a lot when you're on Legendary.
Right. When he's on Legendary, he tends to be very patient and more than willing to die, but also getting a bunch of kills. I feel like he typically goes positive with most of his games, which is very impressive being on Legendary, being able to do that. And then when he does come off of Legendary and plays normally, he is a massive force to be reckoned with. I have a hard time playing against him when he's not on Legendary. I actually ask him to go on Legendary whenever he does play.
I think everybody does.
Oh, yeah. After Scumbag Lenny, Frog Champ went with another Waukesha pick in Nate. And Nate is a very unique player in that he is able to just absolutely hold down the street like no other. He comes in with a 39 skill rating and an 18.98 accuracy, followed by a 1.2 KDR, which is not terrible at all, staying positive. He will be a force to be reckoned with, as well as he's very laid back with how he plays. He's very patient. He likes to wait back and let people come to him. So hopefully that'll.
Yes. Nate is gonna be. Woo. Again, you talk about J-Bakes making his comment about the mansion side. Nate is gonna be the force against their mansion side players.
Right.
Nate is very good at holding down that side of the field from either end, so it's going to be interesting to see how that plays out.
Right, and when he does actually want to go into the mansion, normally he holds down the front of it. When he goes into mansion, he can hold it out pretty well from inside there as well. With his last pick, Frog Champ went with Hans Jaeger Booger. I believe I'm saying that right. Who I believe is from St. Louis this time.
I believe that's correct. Yes.
And he comes in with a 41 skill rating, a 7% accuracy, but the way that they play, all their accuracies are a little bit lower than at Waukesha. Waukesha typically has a higher accuracy overall, but also 1.38 KDR. And Hans is, again, another wild card. We're not really sure how well they're going to play. From what I'm hearing, he's very good when he plays there. He's very eccentric when he plays, and it should be a fun matchup playing against this team. This team looks very solid all around.
Yeah, I would definitely agree. I think it's going to be one of the tougher teams for sure in this.
Definitely. Now, getting to FrankNStein's questions, he was very precise and very good with answering these questions. When picking his teams, he wanted to pick people that he knew. He wanted to pick some friends who would work well together. He felt like the friendship and the camaraderie that way would help them work together well. And it's another bonus that they're all very close in Waukesha, so they can all talk and communicate and also come play together. For the game that they think they will do the best at, they're not really sure. I think he's being a little bit shy on that, making sure that he doesn't give too much away. His team does know all the games, obviously, with playing here and knowing the tricks and how to play them well. But it ultimately comes down to what team they end up facing. They have favorite games, but they don't want to get too much false hope in thinking that they're going to win their favorite games.
I like the way you finished that up. That's pretty good.
Yes, exactly. You don't want to get too cocky with the games that you think you're really good at. Which of the opposing teams do you think will be the most difficult to beat? He can't say overall which team will be the most difficult. One team that does scare him a little bit is Doki for a certain game mode for when they play Hell's Bells. And
Sorry, he
mostly alludes to Sniper, who knows just how to shoot that bell, just like his dad does, and is very fast at hitting the bell and can rack up a bunch of points in that game mode, and also rack up a bunch of kills while hitting the bell, which is honestly a more difficult part of it.
Oh, most definitely. That's definitely going to be. That's one of the Achilles heels from when you compare our field to the other fields. Our field has the original bell, and the original bell doesn't have this tube down the middle of it that forces you to be directly under it. So what happens is you're actually able to get some angle shots on our bell, which most of the Waukesha players know, but very few can actually hit well.
Right.
And Sniper is one of those that can hit those angles. He can also, if he gets up top, he can control the top by himself and shoot the bell at the same time. So that, and as well as FrankNChamp, there's a couple of these players that they get up top, they're very good at controlling the top all by themselves, and if it's Hell's Bells, they're good at shooting them. So FrankNChamp, Sniper are two of those. So that's gonna, if those two end up against at some point, I almost want to see that game go against each other, because I think that would be just awesome to see those two teams.
Oh, for sure, for sure. As you alluded to, the Waukesha bell is the original bell, the only one where you don't actually have to shoot directly up into it. So that could be a big difference maker, especially if some of these out-of-town players haven't played with the bell that way. I know that a lot of the Chicago and Madison players are learning and trying to play it that way, but if they haven't had any practice yet on it, they should probably start doing that.
Yeah, it's funny. The Madison bell was one of the second field that ever opened with the Hell's Bells. And when we went to beta test their field to, find things that worked, didn't work, I actually broke the bell the first day. We were there, the first game we played, I broke it, 700 and something hits, and it broke. And it was funny watching them actually, it was on this big oil rig tower, they have to climb and fix it, and so it was pretty funny. And then after that round, the owner was there, and they basically said, yeah, we need to change the way the bell plays. So all the bells after that had that tube down the middle of it. It was funny. It was a good
right. This is the only field that gets a really high total on bell hits. Most of the other fields that you go to, they don't even really approach double digits that often.
Right.
But here we get into triple digits very easily for Hell's Bells. That'll be a really fun game to play.
Yep.
Getting to our last team here, we have Mac 20, and Mac is a former Madison player, very good friends with Doki, so it'll be fun right off the bat just to see those two play against each other.
In the draft, they actually one wanted the other.
Right.
And Doki was the higher captain, so he, Mac was actually, it was between two people, Unicorn Rage and Mac, for being a captain, and Mac didn't want it. Unicorn Rage said no, and then all of a sudden Mac's, okay, I'll do it. So it was kind of broke up their original plan, so they had to think on their feet real quick, because they wasn't going to be a captain.
Right,
so
exactly.
It was kind of interesting.
Mac had zero preparation in terms of this. He was going into it thinking that he was going to be playing and being picked by every team, but instead he had to pick his own team. Benefit with Mac, though, is that he always comes in with a smile, and he was doing that during the draft as well. He was ready to go. He seemed to have a lot of fun, and I believe his team kind of reflects that as well. With his first pick, he went with DeSeal, who, again, is a short-term player. He hasn't been playing for a full year yet, probably only, like you said, 4 or 5 months
Yeah, about
playing
that.
with cheese curds. But he's learning very, very quickly. He comes in with a 56 skill rating already, which is quite impressive, and 18% accuracy, which is tops on the team. With his second pick that came right after the seal is Be Ready, who is another out-of-town player, but actually has the highest skill rating on Mac's team at 74.6.
Wow.
It'll be interesting to see how that translates to our field, as they are from out of town where we don't believe they've ever played here before. But they also have a 2.29 KDR, so obviously they're doing something right. Mac followed that up with another out-of-town player, an IG-11, who comes in with a 56 skill rating.
That's
and
another North Carolina player.
Another North Carolina player, correct. And I believe B Ready's actually from St. Louis.
I think that's right.
Yeah, so he was not lucky and got players from North Carolina, but he got one from each. So hopefully they'll be able to get their team together. Hopefully they're talking out and working stuff together, working plans out. And Mac rounded out his team with a very solid pick in Powers. Powers is a very underrated player, in my opinion, in that he comes out here and he takes it very slow, very patient, but he has a great time when he comes here. He's an old regular from Chicago, but he always has a good time when he's here. He's always videotaping, always studying his own gameplay, so that should help Mac in the long run. Overall, as a team, they have a 54.6 skill rating. They do have the lowest accuracy overall, which could be a detriment to them for some games, but they do like to go about the process of sweeping and basically spraying on players and taking them out quickly. And as a team, they have a 1.72 KDR, which is not too bad at all either.
No, not at all. Anything over a 1 is positive.
Right, exactly. And as a team, I feel like with any of the kill games, they're going to be a force right there, because DeSeal is very good at wiping out players, sweeping through and taking them out. Mac is no slouch in that either.
Yep.
We have to see how the out-of-town players play, but obviously they're doing something right if they're having such high skill ratings at their own locations.
Yep.
So for Mac's thoughts on drafting, he wanted to draft a very versatile team that could switch their styles of play to whatever the situation called for. He drafted players that he felt could give him an edge, and I definitely agree that he did that with Be Ready and DeSeal. They're both very top-tier players in my own opinion. DeSeal knowing Waukesha's field very well and being very quick to learn it, and he's also super young too, so he's going to add a little bit of energy to that team. For the game that they feel the best at, they're going to shine at TDM, as we alluded to. They are probably going to wreck house with that. DeSeal can just fly around this field. He can do laps around people before they even get out of spawn. So TDM will probably be their top game. The team that they feel will be the hardest to beat is actually Delirium's team. He acknowledges that he has a very aggressive team, and Delirium's a very knowledgeable player, and he has a very strong supporting cast around him, which I would definitely have to agree with that assessment.
I agree with it.
So overall, I feel like Mac's team, like I said, is going to be TDM. They're going to be very kill-oriented. Even though Sniper is also more or less a kill game, I feel like that might be a little hindrance for them. They might need to practice their accuracy a little bit better, having the lowest out of all the teams. But overall, maybe they'll play against another team that's not having its best day in terms of accuracy.
Yep. No, I agree with that.
All right, so that just about wraps up all the teams. Is there any more thoughts that you had after we went over all the teams? We alluded to who has the top accuracy, the top skill ratings, the top KDR. Any other thoughts jumping out to you?
No, I think I think we covered all the bases. I think this is going to be a great tournament. We had hoped for a 40-person tournament to get a little bit higher teams in there, team count, but I think it's going to end up well. We did end up with a cash prize. I think all the players know about that. So we got 400 for first place, 200 for second place, and some goodie bags for third place. So I think it's going to be a good time. I really appreciate the out-of-town players coming in. I know it's a drive, and that was also one of the driving factors on why we went with the round-robin format, because you come and play a single elimination. That's just not going to be any fun. You go out the first round and you drove 1,000 miles. Like, that was not worth it. So I think we did well in making it the round-robin style format. There was some other fields I wish we would have been able to get some of their players, but I know things just happen sometimes and we just can't do it.
Right.
Or things you aren't not able to make things happen. So, the comment at the end being the longest ranked number one. I was number one for quite a while. We got Meth Morrow out in Michigan now, who's currently number one. He's killing it and he's doing strong. I wish we could have had him out here. It would have been great for him to be in this tournament. But I think this is going to be good. We're going to do the rule format a little bit different than the tournaments have been done before with iCombat. So I think it's going to be fun. We're going to start 6 p.m. on the 14th with the briefs. Hopefully getting everybody on the first two teams on the field no later than 6:30. We'll go from there. We're gonna have a nice little barbecue truck out in the parking lot. Nobody knows
good
that, but it's
eats.
gonna be some good food. Maybe we'll give certain teams certain free food, slow them down a little bit. We'll see what happens. But no, it's gonna be a good time, and I think everybody's gonna have a really good time at it. And we're trying to make it as fun as we can for everybody, and we're hoping to continue this on. The actual goal, after speaking with a couple of the other field owners, is to try and get this a moving tournament. So whether next year is in Michigan, 1 year is in Louisiana, get it out to North Carolina, get it. We've already spoken with New Jersey. He would love to host it. I think St. Louis is definitely on board. They're a great field, great bunch of people down there also. I've played many of the fields throughout the Midwest and working on the East Coast ones next. So I think I'm up to 9 fields I've played on. So it's been really good for me playing on those fields, now being an owner, seeing what I can change on our field, or what working with the other owners on what we can do and make better on our own field. Has been great. So I think it's going to be fun. I'm looking forward to this. I hope we can continue it on, and I hope it, especially COVID wasn't a friend of ours this time. But I think next year, whether we host it or whoever hosts it next time, we'll be able to get bigger numbers in it. So it'll be fun.
Right, that's ultimately the goal here. Before we wrap it up, I just have 2 more questions for you. The first one, you already mentioned that you'd like to see Frog Champ versus your son.
Yeah.
Is there another matchup that you're looking at between all these teams? Anything that really jumps out to you between them that might be a really fun matchup to watch?
I think it's going to be interesting is watching Delirium's and Brat's team go at it, because when on something like the sniper is going to be interesting, because you not just having Ashaway on there, but seeing how the 2 teams react to those 2 teams almost have completely different play styles.
Right.
Those are going to be really interesting in the way they play. So those are going to be fun to watch. J-Bakes versus Doki's team is going to be interesting because you got 2 fast people on that team, 2 really quick people, but you've also got a big person who can sit back and take out a lot of shots. So it's going to be interesting to see how it works out. There's going to be some good ones in there. Mac's got DeSeal on his team. So, DeSeal and Cheese Curds are real good friends. So seeing Mac and Doki's team go at it, friend rivalry is always a blast to watch. I know Frog Champ said he liked picking his friends. Sometimes it's funner to kill your friends.
That's true. That's very true. And last question, you don't have to pick a winner, but I kind of want your thoughts on who do you think the last 2 teams will be for Juggernaut? I'm going to put you on the spot with this one. Who do you think will be the final 2?
I've been going over this. I honestly, there's so many tough teams on there. I mean, to narrow it down to 2, oof.
Yes, that is a little bit tough. I personally think having the Waukesha employees on Frog Champ's team might give him a huge edge.
I think he's definitely his team's gonna be up there. I mean, I can tell you who I think top 4, and I think it's gonna be Bakes, Delirium, Doki, and Frog Champ's team. I think Brat's and Delirium's team are going to be right neck and neck.
Right.
But what's funny is, the unknowns, Be Ready, IG-11, the IG-72, Zay Misner, these are going to be interesting to see how well they play in. I know the North Carolina people, I believe, it was either North Carolina or St. Louis are coming in Thursday. They're going to play Thursday, Friday as much as they can to get as much practice in. So it's going to be interesting. I've been in several tournaments and won, but then you see teams that come back out of nowhere. How did that happen?
Yes.
They just end up working together really well. And unfortunately, we have a good size. Well, fortunately, we have a good size field. So when you're talking 5-on-5, that's only 10 people on this big field.
Right.
That's a lot of ground to cover that you got to have people working together on. If you get a team, just because you got a team, a bunch of killers, if they don't work together and do their jobs, another team's just going to come through and sweep them.
Right, I agree. And honestly, looking at all the teams, I can sit here and confidently say I don't think one team is going to win every single game, and I don't think one team is going to lose every single game. I feel like every team is going to be in it right until the end. It's probably honestly going to come down to the last game of the first round in order to figure out just who is going to be in the finals for this.
That's a perfect analysis. The amount of teams and the amount of games that we're playing are so diversified that I think each team has a little bit of a strong suit in different games. So that end of round robin with the most wins is going to be interesting to see who was able to pick up more wins where.
Right, definitely. All right, so we're going to wrap this up here. The tournament, once again, is on November 14th, this coming Saturday when you see this. It starts at 6 o'clock. There will be a practice beforehand at 10:30, right?
10:30 in the morning is free practice for the teams. Yep.
Is that going to be open to the public too?
No,
if
it's
anybody
just
wants
for
to
the
come
teams.
watch,
They can come in and watch. Anybody's allowed to come in and watch, but only the only the tournament players are allowed to play.
Right.
And we're not sure. We're going to kind of let it be up to them, democratic about it. If they want to play as a team, which I would think they would, or if they want to kind of play with certain players to see how that player plays, just throwing it out there. If you want to learn how to be a little devious, but you know, it's something to think about. So it's definitely going to, but there will be free practice 10:30 a.m. on the 14th.
Right, and the tournament will be streamed on iCombat Waukesha's Twitch. It is at iCombat Waukesha on Twitch. Check it out there at 6 o'clock. I will be commentating for it. Jeremy will be on the field, making sure everyone's following the rules and getting a first-hand look, honestly, at how his own son plays, but also how all the other team plays as well. So this should be a good turnout.
So we plan on 6 p.m. We're bringing all the players in, doing our initial rule brief. So we're hoping the first game starts no later than right at 6:30. So be patient with Mitch on Twitch. He'll keep you guys entertained.
Oh, yeah.
Ahead of time for sure. But by 6:30, we should be rocking and rolling.
Awesome. And hopefully at the end of this, Frog Champ, this will be going up on Frog Champ's channel, so hopefully he'll actually have some good footage from the tournament as well. Hopefully we can get actual stream footage recorded, or possibly even footage from on the field itself, and get you guys some good footage from that as well.
Yep.
But thank you for joining me, Jeremy. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me, and Pandemic 2020, here we go.
Oh, yeah. Don't forget to check out the tournament on November 14th, 6 o'clock. It will be on Twitch at iCombat Waukesha. And hopefully we see a lot of you in person, but if you can't be in person, feel free to check out the Twitch stream. Comment in the chat. I will try to be as interactive as I can, keep you guys updated and posted on all that. And until then, we'll see you guys for the tournament on Saturday, November 14th.